pray that the Lord would help me tonight. I pray that that y'all would pray that the Lord would help me tonight. As I started preparing for this, I know that this was the message that I was going to preach, and I've tried my way, every possible way that I can to get out of preaching it. At the end, you might say, well, why in the world wouldn't you want to preach that? But a lot of times I've told Heath I feel like it just makes me look like an idiot, makes me look like a dummy. But to be honest, I guess I'd say a lot of times I am that. So it is what it is. And without the Lord's help, it won't be nothing tonight. Without the Lord's help, I can't do anything whatsoever. I have to have His help every single day when I get up and put my clothes on. And I go to my job site and I'm relying on Him. I'm driving down the road to work and I have to rely on Him to make sure that I get there. Every single thing that I do, I'm counting on Him. And I'm thankful that He comes through for me. Turn in your Bibles tonight to 1 Kings chapter number 19. If you would stand for the reading of God's Word. I don't have no. You'd think with Heath saying I was going to preach this message. I don't know how many services we've passed it up now, 2 or 3, or maybe this is the second. But you'd think, well, he'd have plenty of time to prepare for something, but it ain't like that. It ain't always like that. Just what I think I got my plans don't always work out, and again, like I said before, I'm counting on the Lord. I need His anointing tonight. I need a touch from Him. 1 Kings chapter number 19. We're going to start in verse 1. And it said, "And Ahab told Jezebel all that Elijah had done, and withal how he had slain all the prophets with the sword. Then Jezebel sent a messenger unto Elijah, saying, So let the gods do to me, and more also, if I make not thy life as the life of one of them by tomorrow about this time. And when he saw that, he arose and went for his life, and came to Beersheba, which belongeth to Judah, and left his servant there. But he himself went a day's journey into the wilderness, and came and sat under a juniper tree. And he requested for himself that he might die, and said, It is enough now, O Lord. Take away my life, for I am not better than my fathers. And as he lay and slept under a juniper tree, behold, then an angel touched him, and said, Arise and eat. And he looked, and behold, there was a cake baking on the coals, and a cruse of water at his head. And he did eat and drink, and laid him down again. And the angel of the Lord came again the second time, and touched him, and said, Arise and eat, because the journey is too great for thee. Y'all can be seated. I can't even read this with just not completely getting tore up. I'd like to be able to get through my message without just destroying it from sitting up here crying like a baby. And but as I read this, I see where that Elijah is. It says he lay and slept under a juniper tree. He's asked the Lord. He said, Lord, he's been on a journey, and he asked the Lord. He said, would you just let me die here? I'm no better than my fathers. Just let me lay right here and just take me out of here. He said, I believe I'm finished with this. I believe I'm done. He said, just take me on out. And I'm going to give you a little background before this story. I'm going want to give you a little background from chapter 17 and 18 to what is going on, but to where you can understand chapter 19 just a little bit. But in chapter 17, at the beginning, God tells Elijah, He says, I need you to go to the brook. He said, there's not going to be any water for the next a couple of years. And He said, you're going to have to go to this brook if you want to survive. If you want food, you're going to have to go to this brook. He said, I'm going to send the ravens there to send you food. And surely, as you continue reading, it said the ravens brought him meat, brought him food every single day. I'm sure that the water there was great. I'm sure that exactly what that he needed, God provided for him. And we see how, if you continue to read, that God continued to give him what he needed. And then if you continue on in chapter 17, it says that he goes to Zarephath. God tells him, says, leave the brook. I need you to go to Zarephath. There's a little widow woman there that you're going to have an account with. You're going to speak to this lady. She's going to talk with you. You're going to help her. You don't understand it right now, but when you get there, you'll understand. And we read where that he gets to the little widow woman. He says, can you fix me something to eat? And she says, I don't have anything. I'm surely going to make the last bit that I've got, and I'm going to die. He says, just make me something. He says, and he promises her that the meal barrel ain't going to go empty. And we continue to read in this story where the meal barrel stays full somehow because of God. God continues to supply. I said full. I don't know if it was full, but I believe every time she opened it, there was more and more there. So I continue to read on into chapter 17, and it says, it shows where that this widow woman's son, where that he's fallen sick, and she comes to Elijah and she says, man of God, did you come here to bring my sins back to me? Is there something that I've done? My son's sick and he's dying. And we read where that Elijah says he throwed himself on top of the boy 3 different times, and he cries out to the Lord. And he says, see, the boy surely sleeping. The boy comes back to life. He gets his life back brought back into him. And we look excuse me just a second. And we look into chapter 18. We see all these things that Elijah's done, and we look into chapter 18, and God tells Elijah, says, you're going to go. You're going to go back to Ahab, and you're going to present yourself back to him. And I'm sure that probably scared him just a little bit, thinking that he might be scared for his life. But it says that he goes to King Ahab, and he finally says, we're going to settle this once and for all. He said, if Baal is God, then serve him. But if God is God, you're going to serve him. And he says, we're going to do this one way, and the only way that I know how to do it. God's going to have to prove Himself to you. He's going to have to show you who that He is. And He says, we're going to make get these sacrifices, these bullocks, and we're going to put them on the altar. He says, and you cry out to Baal, and I want you to see what happens. You cry out to him and see what happens. He says, and I'll cry out. I'm standing here by myself, and there's plenty of those other followers of Baal. And he says, you all get together and cry out, and I'm going to cry out by myself, and we'll see what happens here. And so they do exactly that. They cry out to Baal, and I know it's a real popular story. A lot of people, it's a common thing. People have read it, but said that they cry out to him and nothing's happening. But the people began to cut themselves, I believe is how I read it. I believe they began to cut themselves, and they didn't completely understand. They just continued to cry out. And Elijah said, well, maybe he's sleeping. Maybe this Baal, maybe this God that you're talking to, maybe he's dealing with somebody else, and you're just going to have to wait your turn. I'm glad my God don't work like that. But he said maybe you just missed him. Maybe he was around, and maybe you've just barely missed him. But I read where that there's nothing happens, and he says in verse 30, he says, I want you to draw unto me. I want you to come around here. He said, because I'm going to show you something. He says, grab me 4 barrels of water. He said, grab me 4 barrels of water. And he soaks this wood. He lays it upon the altar just right. He soaks it down. Says he digs a trench around it, and it's completely soaking wet with water.
And he said, I'm going to cry out to the Lord. But I like what he says in 36. He said, I'm going to cry out to the Lord. He said, the one of Abraham, Isaac, and Israel. Oh, that's a little different than the one they was crying out to. That's a little different than the one they was crying out to. And he said, I'm going to cry out to him, and y'all are going to see what happens. And God sends a fire down. And it said it licked up all the water. Every bit of the water was gone. I'm glad that God can take wet wood even when it's, I know we always talk about being dry, but God can take it when it's soaking sopping wet, and He can even get fire out of it. But we jump ourselves over into chapter 19, and we see from 17 and 18 all of these things that's happened in Elijah's life. Just this short period of time. I don't know how long this was. I guess I could have read into that and tried to get you into the timeline of how long 17 and 18 chapter was. But we see in 17 and 18 all these great things that happened, and he got to visually put his eyes on, and he got to see them happen. He got to see God work. He got fed when the ravens come by and give him food. And he continued to get water there at the brook. God continued to supply it for him. I preached a message on that one time, but he seen where that he prayed out. He cried out to God and said, God, send this fire down so I can show them just really who you are. That I can show them just how you work. But we see in chapter 19, it's a very different situation. We see a very different situation here. And I want to start in verse 4 again. I want to read back through that. He said, but he himself went a day's journey into the wilderness and came and sat down under a juniper tree. And he requested for himself that he might die and said, it's enough now, O Lord. Take away my life, for I am not better than my fathers. And he lay and slept under a juniper tree. Behold, then an angel touched him and said unto him, arise and eat. And he looked, and behold, there was a cake baking on the coals and a cruse of water at his head, and he did eat and drink, and laid him down again. And the angel of the Lord came again the second time and touched him and said, arise and eat, because the journey is too great for thee. And right now I really want to pinpoint back on that verse 4. He says, it's enough now, O Lord, take away my life. I'm done. I'm ready to hang it up. I'm ready to have this thing over with. And I began to think, this is just the way that my mind works. And I thought, Elijah, what could get you so discouraged? What could get you so discouraged? How could you ever get to that point? How could you ever get to the point when God's sent a raven to feed you food every day? When God's kept His hand over and protected you because Ahab and Jezebel wanted him dead? How could you get so discouraged, Elijah, when you called down fire, you said, God, could you send fire back onto this soaking wet wood just so I can show these folks who you are? How could you get so discouraged? And this is kind of where that I want to go with the message tonight. I'm going to be 100% honest as I know how to be. I'd love to sit here and tell you that I'd love to sit here and tell you tonight that my life's perfect. I'd love to sit here and tell you that I don't face things each and every day that don't bother me, that I don't go through trials, and I don't see things that I wish I didn't have to see. But me and Andrew and Tanner had went down to a revival down in Forest City, and they had asked us to come down there and preach at revival, and they asked us to sing, and it was every single day. We was talking back and forth, and me and Tanner and Andrew was having conversation, and we was throughout the day saying, has God give you anything? Has He showed you anything as far as the service tonight? Do you have any direction which way to go as far as the song service? What songs we should sing and what songs we shouldn't sing? Because I don't ever want to get up with just a set of songs and say, we're going to sing this tonight. I want to be led by what God wants us to do. And so we come into that revival, and I preached the first night, and Andrew preached the next 2 nights, and we really got to see folks get help. We really got to see folks get help. And we left, and that Sunday morning, it felt like that church had just flipped. It felt like that Sunday morning when we walked out of there, that God had used me in a way that I had never been used before. And I would say, I don't know how anybody else feels, but I can say as far as a preacher goes, as far as a pastor goes, there's nothing that you would want more than God to use you. When God gives you a job, you want to be used in that job. There's nothing more, Heath, than you want to do than be effective. There's nothing more you want than your preaching to be effective. You want to see folks get help. And man, I'm not going to lie, we had left. And I sit right here that Sunday night, and I praise God. I said, God, I thank You for using me. Thank You for making me effective. Thank You for making me helpful to somebody, helpful to this ministry. And Andrew had made a comment to me. He said, we was sitting down eating one night, and he said, I want to tell you something. I said, yeah. He said, I don't want to scare you. He said, but I just want to give you a heads up. He said, God showed it to me. Satan desired to sift you as wheat. And my exact words to you, Andrew, I said, do you not think I know that? Do you not think that I know that? There's nothing more that He'd love to do than to crush my testimony. There's nothing more that He'd like to do than crush my ministry. There's nothing more that He'd like to do than ruin my marriage with my wife. There's nothing more that He'd like to do than to take me out of this church. There's nothing more that He'd like to do than to ruin my friendships that I've got. And I said, Andrew, I know this. I know this. What I didn't know was I was about to face the hardest struggle I've ever been in my spiritual life. And I'm being honest with you tonight. It was one day after another. I told Brother Andrew, I said, if you'd have known this, I wish you'd have given me a better heads up. Because I don't know what to do. I don't know where to go. I just keep praying the same thing every day. God, I want to feel You again. God, I want to feel You so close to me again. I don't feel it. That's just being honest. I'd come in here during church, and the Spirit would get to moving, and I'd get a little feel of it. And I thought, oh, buddy, it's going to be different when I walk out of here. I'm going to walk out of here, and I'm going to be back right on cloud 9. And there's nights I walked out of here, and it wasn't like that. And I'd wake up in the morning, and I'd go into the living room or up into my study upstairs and up into my little reloading room where I pray in the mornings. And I thought, man, I'm going to sit down right here and I'm going to pray. It's going to change. I'm going to get up from here and something different's going to happen. And I'd go in there morning after morning. I'd go to work, and it sure didn't feel like nothing had changed. It sure felt like I was still the same. I still felt awful dry. And I just continued and continued every day. God, I'm just looking for this to change. I told Brother Heath, I said, where would I go? I don't have nothing else to go to. I don't have nothing else to go to. I can't go back to where I was living, because that sure didn't do nothing for me. It sure didn't do nothing for me. thought, I've just got to keep hammered down in that direction. We'd come to Wednesday night service. I'd get my hopes up. I'd come in the door and I was expecting something different. God, you're going to do it tonight. God, you're going to fix it all back up tonight. I'm going to get to feel you again. And I'd walk out. And I felt the same. And I don't know where that you stand in your Christian life. I don't know how much that you got of Him, but what Heath was talking about earlier, when he said if you don't feel Him in the vehicle, when you're driving down the road, when you're by yourself and you're listening to some good preaching or you're listening to some good gospel music, I like to feel it when He gets in the car with me. I don't know if y'all have that, but I like it. And I'd crank that music up wide open, and it sure didn't seem like it was getting no better. And I'd crank the preaching up, and it felt like I was getting about that much help. But it didn't sure feel like the same like I was when we was at that revival, Andrew. It sure felt a little different than that. I come in here one night, and we had service. I stopped Lori out in the parking lot, and I said, Lori, I need you to pray. I said, I need your help, sister. Is that not what I told you? I said, I need your help. I said, I'm getting just little tidbits here and there each day that's just keeping me going in that direction. Just a little bit. I said, I was out working, and I was at the lake in one of them nice housing developments, and I was driving down the road, and I said, it got real steep. I got right up towards the top, and there's a sign that said off the side of the road, and it said, the hill blocks the view. And I thought, what the world does that mean? And when I got to the top, I knew what they was talking about. Because I didn't know if the road went right or left. If it went straight down, I couldn't see nothing. The nose of the truck was sitting wide straight up, and I couldn't see a thing. And as I come off that backside, I got to thinking, God, that was for me. Whatever I'm going through, it's just blocking what's on the other side. And God, I just need a glimpse of what's over there. I just need to see what's over there. And I told Sister Lori, I said, I need you to keep praying. I seen that sign today, and it gave me just a little bit of hope. It gave me just a little bit more strength. I said, but Lori, I'm going to be honest. I said, I feel probably like them Israelites felt when they walked up to them Jericho walls for the first time. I bet they walked up to them and they looked awfully high. And they thought, how in the world is these walls going to fall? How in the world are these walls going to crumble down and we're going to overtake this city? Old Joshua keeps telling us we're going to overtake it, but I'd say there's some in the back saying, I don't know about this. I know I would be. I don't know about this. I'm a worrier. I ain't going to lions. And it kept on day after day after day. And I ain't going to lions. I didn't know what to do. I just kept praying. I said, God, I need you. God, in Matthew, it's chapter 4 or 5. I believe it's 4. Andrew may know, or one of you boys may. But he says, blessed is those that hunger and thirst after righteousness, for they shall be filled. And I kept reading it. I thought, God, I want it. I want it. I want to be filled. And I'm hungry for it right now, God. I need just a little bit more. And I don't have it right now, but I'm waiting for you. Even in the days when Satan would come by and say, just give this thing up. Hang this thing up and be done. I couldn't give up. I couldn't quit. I couldn't hang it up. There's a fire burning on the inside of me that wanted that Jesus. That wanted that man to hung on Calvary for me. I wanted to feel His presence again. It was during the middle of Thanksgiving week. I was kind of a little secluded from everybody else. I just kind of done my own thing. I thought, I'm just going to go deer hunt. I'm going to sit in the woods by myself. I'm going to sit there and I'll get my phone out and I'll read my Bible. I'll read my Bible and I'll have time to just sit and talk to the Lord. Like 3 or 4 days in, I still ain't felt nothing. I thought, God, I'm still waiting on you. I'm still here waiting on you. And I woke up early one morning and I started to get up and get dressed to go hunting, and it was early up in the morning, 4:30 or so. And I finally just got beat, just 100% beat. I said, I'm not even doing it today. I'm laying back down. Threw my pajamas back on, I laid back down in the bed. If I could sleep for a little bit, it'd get my mind off of this. My mind's running wide open. If I could sleep just a little while, maybe I'd get some peace. I woke up and I said, well, I'm going to go do an evening hunt. And at that point, I didn't care if there was a 26-inch widespread, 200-inch deer. It didn't matter to me. I wanted the Lord. I wanted Him more than anything else because I felt Him. This word says, taste and see. I've tasted. And I want it all the time. I don't want to go without it. As I was driving up a mountain, heading hunting, I cut that radio back on one more time. And I pulled a CD out of the door panel. And it was an old CD from 2017, I believe it is, or 18. And pulled it out and put it in the CD player. This was Andrew can vouch for this. It's a stack of CDs this big. I just grabbed something random, throwed it in there. It was Brother Dale Wheeler preaching. He said, sometimes I think, I don't even remember what the message was about. I ain't got the slightest idea. But I remember him saying, he said, I remember my kids was growing up. He said, and I remember us playing hide and seek together. And he said, there was never a time where that I'd hide, and I didn't intend for them to come find me. He said, if I hid, I know them youngins was going to come seek me. And he said, sometimes I think the Lord's just hiding from me. He said, when I get just a little bit low and my spirit gets low, he said, and I'm just going to seek Him. I'm just going to seek Him. And I turned that radio off. And I went to pray, and I heard some boys talking. I heard some boys talking a couple of weeks back, and they was talking about a man preaching a message, and I don't even know what the message was about. I just heard the title of it. They said, oh, you should have heard it. He preached this message called God, Please Do It Again if you can. And I thought, man, that God, please do it again? That sounds crazy to me. That sounds an awful lot like, will God do it if you're able? Will God come by if you can do it one more time? Will God come by and help me if you got just enough strength to come by my way one more time? And I thought, I'm not going to listen to this no more. I'm not going to have these thoughts in my head no more. I'm not going to doubt that my God can do it again. And so tonight, if I got a title for this message, it'd be God Can Do It Again. Hey, I'm going to tell you something. I got in the cab of that truck, and I got to thinking about when He come by, where I was at when I was lost, and He pulled me out of that sin. Oh, it wasn't me that changed my life. Oh, no, it was Him. It wasn't nothing that I done. He come down to where I was at, and He said, son, He said, I want to change your life. Oh, it wasn't nothing. I tried my very best. I tried my best to change the way that my mind thought. I tried to change my heart. There wasn't nothing I could do. I began to think about that. I began to think about when He come by. I thought, there ain't no way. There ain't no way I can give up on this man. I began to think about just a few short weeks back when I laid in the living room floor. My wife will tell you this is the truth. When I laid in that living room floor and I said, God, You've led me here. I've just sold off a vehicle that I know is 100% reliable, and I need a vehicle for my wife to drive. And she called me back and she said, you won't believe it. These people sitting here in the parking lot of the dealership, they got a vehicle. They said they want to sell it to us. I said, God, I've seen too much. I can't turn around. God, I can't turn around. And I began to think about how He led that little woman to me when time after time she should have left me. I thought about the day that we got married. I thought about how that He blessed me with her, how that He'd give us a home to live in. Surely I can't give up on this. This is the best thing I got. If I lost it all, I just want Him. And I began to picture, God showed it to me standing right here. Right here. And I began to look back through this church at the people that I love sitting here. I began to think about Sister Lori sitting back here. In every service, Keith would say, "You got any prayer requests?" She'd say, "Remember Greg." She'd say, "Remember Greg, pray for my husband." And I'm sure there was days, Heath, where she thought this ain't going to happen. I'm sure there was days where she got a little discouraged. I look back through here, Brother Elijah, and I seen you. I thought, how many nights did you just lay in the bed and pray for this youngin'? How many nights did you lay in the bed and ask God to give you these children? And now I see them up here in the choir. You were holding that baby girl. I told Andrew last night, I said, "Look at Elijah back here and that youngin' rubbing all over his beard." I bet it tickles him to death. Now he gets to spend nights up with that youngin'. Not up at night praying, "God, give me a youngin'." Lori, I began to think about you. I began to think, how many nights did you and Jerry pray that God would heal your foot? That you'd get to go back to work? Oh, it strengthened me. It started to do something up in the cab of that truck. I thought, God, I can't give up on you. God, I can't do nothing else. God, I don't know a single thing else. Hey, I'm here to tell you tonight. Hey, if He come by your way one time, I want you to know He can do it again. I want you to know that my God is able. I want you to know that there ain't nothing that He can't do. I want you to know that the children that you're praying for, hey, God hears them prayers. I want you to know that the children that's gone off, God still got godly people that's sinning, that's coming by their way, that's giving them a helping hand. I want you to know that God sees your marriage, that God can heal your marriage. I want you to know that there ain't a wall that's too big that God can't knock down. I want you to know that there ain't a valley that's too deep that He can't go in there and get you. I want you to know that there ain't no sin that God can't heal you of. I want you to know that there ain't no depths of sin too far that God can't take you out of it. I want you to know that you can't go too far that God's hand don't extend to it. I want you to know and my God can do it again. The cab of that truck went from day 1 to day 7, about like that. You say, what are you talking about? Day 1, when they walked up to them Jericho walls, they thought, how in the world? I don't know about this. And they'd do 1 lap a day for 6 days. Oh, but it went to day 7 in the cab of that truck like that. Oh, I was rounding the curve on the 7th lap. I was rounding the curve on the 7th lap. And when I come out of it and I could see the finish line, I could already see the mortar falling. I could already see it cracking. I could see it falling off on the ground. I could already see them walls are coming down. Because I know that my God had got in the cab of that truck with me. I know that I felt Him love up all over me. Hey, I'm going to tell you, it's not because He's slack. This Word says He's not slack concerning His promise, as some men count slackness. It's not because of Him. It's because of me that I'm negligent with my time, that I'm not always good. I need Him more and more each day. I need Him every single day. And I want you to know that God can put you back where He wants you. Amen. You say, brother, was you out living in sin? No. No. There's a lot of nights when I'd get home, I'd sit down on the couch and I wanted to watch an episode of Forge and Fire. I want to make them knives. Instead of getting in this Word and reading every single thing that I could. There was evenings where I wanted to go run around with Ian's boys and deer hunt and coyote hunt. Instead of walking up to that prayer place again. But I like what it says here in Joshua. No, I'm sorry. It's in chapter 19 of 1 Kings where we was reading that. The angel of the Lord come by a second time. And he touched him. He touched Elijah. That's who him is. So he touched him. And he said, "Arise and eat." He said, "This journey is too great for thee. There's too much going on in this thing. You're going to have to get up here and you're going to have to eat." Hey, I want to tell you tonight, you're going to have to eat. My wife asked me one time, she said, "Honey," she said, "what do you want for dinner?" She said, "I ain't real hungry." I said, "I don't care if you're hungry or not, I got to eat." Hey, I'm here to tell you tonight, I don't care if you come to serve Him. I don't care what you're here for. People say, "I don't go to church because of hypocrites." Hey, I'm here to serve God. I don't care if you're a hypocrite or not. I hope you're not, and I hope you get your life straightened out if you are. But I'm here to eat. I thought about one more thing. I'm going to close. Me and Taylor the other night, this was maybe 2 nights ago, I don't know. And she said, my phone started ringing like 7 o'clock in the evening, 8 o'clock in the evening. I picked the phone up, I swiped it across, "Hello." I would love right now to give you the best automated voice that I had. "This is CVS Pharmacy." And I thought, what in the world are they calling me at 8 o'clock for? He said, "We've got such and such ready for you to come pick up." I said, "Taylor, it's the 15th time they called me today. And I ain't got no prescription down there waiting to get picked up. And I don't know why they keep calling me and they got my name and my number." She said, "I'm going to call and take care of it right now." I said, "I appreciate it." She picked the phone up. She started calling. She dialed the number. It was on speakerphone. I heard her go through all the prompts. If you want faster service, download the app. I thought, this is going nowhere. Well, they put her on hold. They said, "The representative will get to you shortly." I thought, oh, mercy, this is a big old ordeal. I would never went through that. I'd change my number before I called that thing. She said, sitting there listening. It'd been on speakerphone for 15 minutes. I'm listening to elevator music going back and forth. I said, "Honey, can I borrow your phone?" She said, "Yeah." She went to hand it to me. She said, "Yeah, what do you need?" I said, "I'm going to hit that end button." It's a good thing I missed it. I tried to hit it and I missed the end button. She said, No. Don't hit the end button." I said, "Why?" She said, "I get excited when it says I'm 46th in line. If it tells me I'm 46th in line," she said, "that just means there's a whole lot more people just like you that gave up before they got to it. They're going to hang up. There's a whole lot more people that's going to hang up. They're going to answer in just a second." And I come to tell you tonight, God's heard your cry. It's not that He ain't heard you. Your time's a little different than His time. I've had to learn that. I'm impatient. My time's a little different than His. And I want to remind you, don't give up. If you hang the phone up, you quit calling Him. You quit visiting every day. You quit making them door knocks. "God, I'm here. I just want you to know I ain't going nowhere. I ain't got nothing else. I ain't going nowhere." He's going to come to you and He's going to answer. He's going to take them sick youngins that you got. He's going to take all the ailments in your family and He's going to heal them. The centurion's servant, Jesus said to him in Matthew 7, 8, 9, somewhere in there. He says, I ain't found such great faith in all of Israel. I'm telling you just to go ahead and have faith tonight. You go ahead and stick it in your pocket. God's going to come by. And when He does, He's going to say, "Son, pull you up a seat. Get you some of this to eat. I want you to sit down at this table and I want you to eat. And I know you feel like you're full, but I want you to get a double portion. Because this journey's long and you're going to have to keep going. I want you to get up here and I want you to eat. My nanny say every time she cooks, she say, honey, eat all you want. Honey, eat everything you can. I'm telling you tonight, you better pull you up a seat and you better get all you can. That's why I was where I was at. It's because I was getting enough to feed on. I was getting enough to stay alive. God said, I want you to get all you can get. My mom used to tell me, you better get while the getting's good. I want you to get while the getting's good tonight. Diane, come to the piano. Everybody stand to your feet. I ain't got the slightest idea who this is for tonight, but I know the Lord wouldn't give it to me for nothing. I know He said it. I know He placed it on my heart, and I can't get away from it. I said, it's going to make me look stupid. But Lord, I'll preach Your Word. I'll do whatever You want me to do. I'm preaching to somebody tonight who your faith is just a little weak. You've been praying prayers. I don't know if it's for family, if it's for something in your own life. You say, God, I need You to move just one more time because I know that You can. God, I need You to help me one more time because I know that You can. God, I need You to move one more time because I'm trusting that You can. There's more here. They ain't just these. Let me tell you something. I don't even know why I'm going this route if there's somebody here that's backslidden. I want you to know God will pull you right back up in the fold. He'll love right back up on you. He'll put them arms around you and show you just how much that He loves you. Just how much that He cares about you. Maybe tonight He's saying, arise and eat. Come up here and get you some more. Hey, there's several up here in the altars, and I'm sure there's more in here. There may be people listening on Facebook, and if you are, I pray that you make an altar right where you're at. I pray that the Lord will help you right where you're at. But you got to trust in Him and know that He can. You got to trust in Him and know that He's got your situation. And He sees every piece, every fiber of it. And He's just waiting on you to call out and say, God, I need You one more time. I think them songwriters who wrote, it's all right. It's all right. Through the storm He'll give me light. I think they know what they're talking about. I think the songwriter that wrote that song, I may not know how, may not know when, but He'll do it again. I believe they know what they're talking about. I believe they had a hold of something that was worth holding on to. I'm going to close right here. I pray that you'd get help tonight. Like I said, I don't care what it makes me look like. I want you to understand how good God is. I want you to understand He's not a God of question. You don't have to question whether He's going to help you. You don't have to question whether that He's going to give you everything that you need. I don't read anywhere whatsoever in the book of Job. I've read where they took everything he had. But I ain't read one time where it said he went hungry. I ain't read one time where it said he went without. I believe God continued to supply what he needed to get by every single day. I love you tonight. Brother Heath, it's yours.
Amen. Brother Rick, you still want to be anointed, brother?